Next on Newsmax Prime, what's cooking in Cook County? Democrats dominate Chicago with machine politics, but is there a growing resemblance from some Republicans trying to dump Trump? Then, the mainstream media dumped all over the Donald's campaign manager for what supposedly happened in this surveillance video, but now comes the announcement of no criminal prosecution. So, is there still legal and political jeopardy? Plus, are the Russians putting lives in jeopardy with provocative military stunts? Coming up, why Putin thinks he's right to get aggressive. Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, the city of big shoulders, sharp elbows, and ethical challenges. That's the situation in Chicago, where Democrats have dominated for decades, but now some Republicans appear ready to reach for a bag of dirty tricks. You may recall the final results from the March 15th Illinois primary. If you don't, let's take another look. Donald Trump won with 38.8% of the votes, beating Senator Ted Cruz handily. The Texas senator came in second with 30.3%, John Kasich a distant third with 19.7%, and Senator Marco Rubio at the bottom with 8.7%. Obviously, Senator Rubio has since suspended his campaign. Well, for his part, Donald Trump continued his assault on the delegate selection process last night while speaking at a rally in Pittsburgh, referring back to the controversy in Colorado last weekend, again echoing what many Republicans feel about the entire system.
In Colorado right now, they're picketing and going wild because the bosses and the establishment and the people that shouldn't have this power took all of the power away from the voters. So the voters never got to vote. And the voters didn't know that except when I got up and complained. Because it's a rigged system, folks. The Republican system is a rigged system.
Let's go from Colorado to Chicago. Just yesterday, the Chicago GOP ousting 13 committeemen as part of an effort leaders said was, quote, designed to end control over several Republican ward organizations throughout the city, saying at least some of those people were placed in office by Democrats. Chicago Republican Party Chairman Chris Cleveland issued this statement. For the first time in generations, the Chicago Republican Party is free of Democratic influence. It's a new era for aggressive Republican action against Chicago Democrats. We've had enough of the corruption. But our next guests say there is much more to the story. Let's welcome in via Skype from the Windy City, the former Illinois director for Ben Carson's campaign there, Stephanie Holderfield. Also Skyping in, Cook County Committee member Philanise White. Ladies, thanks to you both for joining us here on Newsmax Prime. And it is worth noting that we'll be joined by outgoing Cook County Republican Chairman Aaron Del Mar to get his reaction to what we talk about in just a few minutes. Stephanie, you heard the statement. It's worth noting that the committee people received a termination letter. The reason given was voting for Democrats sometime over the last 8 years. So I'm curious, Stephanie, because you were the state director for Dr. Ben Carson, and it seems everything was cool then, but things changed when you decided to follow Carson in support of Mr. Trump?
Correct. Yes, it got a little bit interesting. There were some people that were upset for the fact that I decided to support Donald Trump in light of the fact that Ben Carson decided to endorse and support Donald Trump. So I feel strongly about Dr. Carson's decision, and I know him. I've worked for him. He's a man of great honor and ethics. And when he made the decision to support Donald Trump, I felt that if it was a good enough decision for him, that I would follow suit.
Philanise, I appreciate that, Stephanie, but I need to ask Philanise, time is short. Pardon the interruption. Philanise, you have a right to a secret ballot, of course, but did you join the Republican Party having been a Democrat sometime in the past?
Yes, I did. I did join the Republican, and I did vote in the primary.
And you are now, you would call yourself a rock-ribbed Republican.
I believe so. I do.
There was another claim made, Philanise, that the ousted committee members were never seen at meetings. Did you get to the meetings you needed to get to? Yes,
I went to the majority of the meetings. I was even at meetings when I was not a committee woman. I was at one of Aaron Delmar's township meetings. So I did attend meetings.
Well, we are going to speak with Aaron in just a second here to get his thoughts on this. Stephanie, in closing, anything you want to see happen here to correct what you think is a wrong?
Absolutely. A letter that is sent to committeemen telling them that they're not elected officials any longer, basically, that they're not allowed to participate in the Illinois State Convention as a delegate, and that they're not allowed to show up at a Republican-held meeting is, in my mind, it's very inappropriate. We want to include everyone that wants to be a Republican and not divide. We want to unite, regardless of any differences that we may have. We always come together and unite. And my hope is that this will be remedied and that an apology will be sent out by Chris Cleveland and remedy the letter that was sent out to establish the fact that the 13 elected committeemen that are Republican are established as true Republicans.
And before we go, Stephanie, you made clear you're now with Trump. Let me ask Philanise, are you supporting Donald Trump?
Yes, I am, because Ben Carson is supporting him, and I respect Ben Carson. So my respect lies with him, and if he feels that's the best choice, I'm with him all the way, and I do support Mr. Trump.
Fair enough, ladies. We very much appreciate your time tonight. Stephanie Holderfield and Philanise White, thank you very much. And now, as promised, let's turn to the outgoing Cook County Republican chair, Aaron Delmar, for his reaction as he joins us via Skype from the land of Lincoln tonight, and also from Newsmax Washington, my old congressional colleague who represented Chicago as a Republican in that historic class of 1994, Michael Patrick Flanagan. Thanks to you both for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. Aaron, you heard what the ladies had to say. What's your reaction?
Well, unfortunately, I had to take the steps to remove the 13th Democratic committeeman from being Republican committeeman in Cook County. For many years, we've had a trend of Democratic plants running candidates to become Republican committeemen in an effort to undermine our slating, undermine our election judge appointments, and undermine our delegates to the state convention. This was a step that I needed to take. I stand by it, and as of today, each of these 13 committeemen are not a member of the Cook County Central Committee.
Michael
JD?
Flanagan, yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my only question for Aaron Delmar is, this has been an ongoing problem in Chicago for years and years and years. But I talked with Ms. Wright today, one of the committeemen. She was a YR in the 43rd Ward. She told me the history of Oscar Dupree's off the top of her head, the first black congressman who was a Republican, the first black elected alderman who was a Republican. This woman's a Republican through and through. And because it come from a black ward, she has some voting history in the Democratic primary, should not be held against her, because these are the people who delivered for Governor Rauner. And I seriously doubt Governor Rauner is on board with what you did, getting rid of all 13 of these minority Republican committee people who worked very hard for him. In addition, the rule you're talking about, you put in yourself a month ago. This is not a long-standing rule. In fact, Ms. Wright said to me that you actually originally appointed her before she was recently elected and now have gotten rid of her by a rule you created a month ago. This is the problem, and this is the optics you've got here.
What about that, Aaron? Is it true?
Well, Congressman, I certainly respect your opinion, and that's a very thought-out statement. However, you've never sat in my shoes as the Cook County Republican chairman, so I'm sure it's a lot easier for you to quarterback on a Tuesday afternoon than it is to be in the actual seat and have to get the job done. Maybe back in 1994, if I was a county chairman, you might have not lost by 50,000 votes to future Governor Blagojevich, because I would.
That was 96. He won in 94. He knocked off Dan Rostenkowski. I could let Michael fight for himself, but I got to get in here as the moderator, Aaron, and I just have to ask you. Look, I understand suspicion about an inside job as much as anyone, But you take a look at the broad expanse of recent history. Ronald Reagan won the White House twice by landslide with Reagan Democrats. A lot of people switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican primary, the Republican Party. We heard about a realignment in the inner city prior to your gubernatorial election. Why would you punish people who were there for your new Republican governor and get rid of him here before the convention in a presidential year? Is it because of Donald Trump?
Certainly has nothing to do with any of the presidential candidates. The fact of the matter is that you're trying to make a broad scope over the 13 committeemen that I have removed from office. Each of those committeemen were removed for certainly different reasons, several of which are felons, which you don't discuss that. You try to label label it as a race issue, that we're trying to get rid of African Americans. That's certainly not true at all. And by all means, we'd love to have as many Democrats come over to the Republican Party. Until they've been proven Republicans, we just don't see it fit to put them as Republican leaders, as ward committeemen in the city of Chicago. That's got a huge history of undermining our Republican Party.
JD?
Michael, go ahead. You got a response? Got a minute.
All I can say is that for the exact same reason you've just given, Aaron, you've blanketed out a lot of good people, maybe with some bad ones. I don't know. But they're all minorities. They're all Republicans in a base we're trying to build. Reince Priebus has gone on and on about his outreach to the minority community. Governor Rauner has relied upon Pastor Brooks in Chicago and all sorts of minorities to help get him done. A nascent party is being built there, and you've blown it up. I'm sorry, you just have. You've thrown out the bad with the good, if that's the case, but I've only talked to the good, so I assume that's all there is. And it's a tough decision on a rule that you passed a month ago. This is not a long-standing rule. This is something you invented a month ago to get it done.
It doesn't matter when the rule was created, as long as it's a good rule. I mean, I don't understand any of your positioning. You're trying to make really good press headlines in the show and try to attack me on this, but really the fact of the matter is we're getting the job done in Cook County. We're trying to make sure that duly elected Republican election judges are appointed. We're making sure that we can slate state representatives and state senators in places so the governor can get his turnaround agenda through. So that when the way to do that is to make sure that we have conservative Republicans that have been verified and passed through our credentials committee appointed. And if you want to sit here and argue about this, that, and the other thing about Donald Trump has nothing to do with this. Okay, nothing whatsoever. This is about getting the job done in the battlefields of Illinois, which is a blue state in Cook County. I was appointed to do a job, and I did it. And I'm going to continue on fighting for conservative values and trying to get Republicans elected in Cook County. And if you don't agree with the methods that I'm doing it, you don't have to agree with it. You don't live here.
Fair enough. Aaron, you came on. You gave us your point of view. Michael Patrick Flanagan has a different point of view that makes for an interesting discussion. Our thanks to you both as we continue to monitor what goes on in Cook County. Back with more after this.